Hi, welcome to the first tutorial of the J Academy. We're going to be working with Visual Studio Express 2012, which is a very powerful program. You can program in C++, JavaScript, many other different languages as well, but today we're going to be working with VB.NET. So today we're going to create various variables and discuss two controls and how powerful they can be. So in order to start a new form, you need to go to File, New Project, and then we want Windows Form Application because it is the most basic and easiest to begin learning Microsoft Visual Studio. It takes a minute to load. Yep, any day now. Okay, so this is the basic form. So I'm just gonna make it a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. Down here there is the properties of Form 1, and there's many different, the appearance, the font. You can rename the form, but for now I'm going to show you the toolbox. The toolbox is very powerful, and these are all your different controls that you can use within these forms and have them hold data, extract data, import data, output, and the list goes on and on. The two controls we're going to be working with today are labels and also buttons. So we're going to assign numerical values to different variables and use buttons to calculate the answer and send them to a label. So we are going to need 3 different buttons, and in order to get the controls on the form, you just drag them right over from the toolbox. 3 different buttons, okay. So this button right here, we're going to go down to the properties, and the text, this is the actual text that the button will say, and we're going to name this button Calculate. Now the text of the button is not how Visual Studio recognizes it. How Visual Studio recognizes it is if you scroll down the properties, you see Design, and buttons have a prefix of BTN. So we're going to name this one BTN Calc. And it's very important that you name your buttons very well, so in more sophisticated programming you can find and navigate through your coding easily. So that one's BTN Calc. And this one we're going to use an exit button. So in the properties under Design, we're going to use the BTN prefix and exit, BTN exit. Now we're going to change the text of the actual button to exit. Okay. Now for the label, we are not going to change any text of the label. Why? Because it's an output label. Output labels always have a border style. Under the appearance and the properties of the label, you change the border style to fixed 3D. This is to differentiate it from a descriptive label, which we will actually put in right now. So you just click and drag it onto the form, back to the properties, and since it's a descriptive label, we don't need to change the border style. We are, however, going to change the text. And since our variables are going to calculate a basic math problem, we're just going to put the text answer. And descriptive labels, for the design, labels have a prefix of LBL, and since it's a descriptive label, DESC1. I don't think we named the output label. So we're going to go back into properties, down to design, put in the label prefix LBL, and we'll put it calc, LBL calc. Oh, and the print button, forgive me for jumping around. This button right here we're going to use as the print button. So we go into the properties, and for the text we're going to just simply put print. Now for how Visual Studio recognize it, we're going to go down to design and use the button prefix btn print. Okay, now to the fun part, the coding. There's various different ways to get into the coding in Visual Studio. The easiest way is to just double click the control that you are using. So in this instance we're going to put in the coding for the exit button. So you simply just double click the exit button and the coding will appear right here. Okay, so this is a private subsector of your coding just for the button exit. So in order to make the program exit, when you click this button, you refer to it, the form 1 is referred to as me. That's how Microsoft Visual Studio recognizes the form that you're in, me. So you simply put me, form 1, me dot close, and that's it. So now when you run your program, the form will close when you click exit. So now back to the design. Okay, so now here we're going to start doing the coding for the calculate. You double click calculate and it brings you into another private subsector of the program, and what we're going to do is we're going to declare two different variables, and the way that you declare variables is a dim statement. A dim statement simply looks like this. Dim stands for declaring different variables. So we're going to name these two. There's various different prefixes for the different types of data. So since we want these to be integers, we're going to put int num1 for number 1, comma, int num2. And then after you declare the variable names, you have to declare what type of variable it is. So you type as integer. So right there you have a green line because you haven't assigned them a value yet. So to assign them a value, we're going to use an assignment statement. An assignment statement is as simple as this. You use the variable name, int num1, equals. The equal sign is for the assignment statement. And we're just going to simply put this value at 5. Also, we're going to do the same thing for the other variable, int num2. Int num2. And we'll keep it simple and go with another 5. So now that we have already declared the values for our variables as well as declaring the variables as an integer, we're going to send this calculation to the output label that we made on our form right here. So now, in order to do that, we're going to use the design name we made for the output label. So we named it LBL calc, and we're going to use the text property. LBL calc.text equals another assignment statement, int num1 times int num2. So basically what we did here is we made the text of the output label equals to int num1 times int num2. So it'll be 5 times 5. So when we run the program, the answer ideally should be 25. So in order to run your program, you could press F5, or I simply just go to start. And we're going to click calculate, and we should get 25 right here in this label. And voila, 25. And to exit the program, we're going to use our exit button that we coded. Exit. And that is the end of tutorial 1. I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in tutorial 2.